we shouldn't present science as intuitive either. It is a process, and it's with step, and not like larger leaps. And that's why I think we should keep on trying to communicate, because it's not something people feel naturally. If you look outside, the Earth seems flat, but it isn't. But your intuition would tell you, I don't see a curve. So,
right.
What happens? And then you can maybe try to reach people.
Yeah, I think you've hit on something that I also find is like this, double-edged sword, or however we want to call it, because there's a challenge. I think one of the big challenges, and I've did podcasts with quite a well-known science communicator, broadcaster back in Canada, and he's talked about this, where it's like, he's been in the field for 30, 40 years, whatever it is, radio, TV, all this stuff, and he's like, I still haven't found a good way to tell the story of the process of science, right? Which is what I think right now in this current moment, a lot of us are feeling we need to do, because that's where it feels like this, whether, again, the things that are going to be detrimental to society, the anti-vax, the anti-climate change, all this stuff it's a again, a bunch of different audiences. People have all the different biases and different reasons for why they think what they do. But science communicators seem to feel that it's a lack of understanding of the process, right? And that if people understood the process, they would understand, some of the failures of communication, let's say during the pandemic, or these kind of things, right? So there's that, and then there's also that's kind of separate from science itself, like the curiousness, the creativeness of the scientist itself. Because I think when you say science isn't intuitive, I think part of it is what the scientist is doing. That desire to question, that desire to figure things out, to observe and then make connections and then say, oh, well, let me test that. Like, if I do this again, am I going to get the same result? I think that is a very human thing, right? Like, that's a very innate thing. You could say, again, our desire to explore new things, right? Like, that's very human. But the formalized process that we've built around it to check it, to make sure that it, that it's self-correcting, that the information that we're providing is as rigorous as possible, that is not intuitive. In a way, I think it might be, but yeah, it's foreign to people. And so I think you're right. But this is this is one of these things that doesn't quite mesh. You want to say, like, it is intuitive, but it's not intuitive. Like, it's a creative thing, but it's got to be rigorously checked. And so in one form, a lot of science, like promotion, let's say, communication, or we can even say science triumphalism, it's all about, look at this ingenuity and this innovation and this, like, these eureka moments and all of this stuff, right? That's a great story, but it negates this other side of it, that is, it's actually teams of people doing boring stuff that is then, rigorously checked and all of that. And so how do you blend those two things, right? And I think that's where I haven't found a good way to balance those two things.
No, I think it's hard to balance those things, because indeed you want to make people enthusiastic for science as well, and for the scientific process. It is indeed a creative process. It's people who are really interested in one niche, specific thing. I myself, I'm very interested in a specific journalism studies theory. Yeah, most people wouldn't care about it, and I completely understand that. But still, I can get excited about it, and you try to make people excited as well. But it is hard to balance the boring and the exciting. But I think if you show your enthusiasm, you can really give it to people as well.